So we are all part of the circular economy. We all need to make our contributions. What we do with our waste matters. We're all the citizens. So it matters whether we try to avoid waste, whether we litter, for example, and also whether we separate our waste. Waste separation is central for recycling, because if waste does not get separated in the households, then the materials that we can still use will get contaminated, for example, by food waste. And then it gets much more difficult to extract the materials that can still be recycled. So the question is now how citizens can be enabled to participate in the system. And the first aspect is, of course, that people need to know how they can participate. So they need to have the information of how the system works. And the second aspect, and that is just as important, is to let people know why they should participate in the system. So the motivation of doing something and then actually doing it, because these are also two separate steps. And so these are different elements that need to be addressed, first of all, by how we design the system. So we need not think about communication and motivating people after we design the system, but we need to have that in mind when we design the system. So, for example, when we organize collection, it's important to, first of all, very clearly and easily design the rules of how people should separate, to make it easy for them to know how to separate.
But then if you are implementing changes, you have to listen to the people, what they say, what they want and what their needs are, because you cannot implement a system without talking to the people, especially in countries where we have a large informal sector. That means where also waste pickers, they're collecting waste and having or doing some kind of business there to earn their money, to earn their living. So that's also important to listen to them. Then trying to inform the population, the households, where the changes are implemented, so that then at the end the changes in the waste management are accepted.
And then we need to make it convenient for people to participate in the system. For example, by collecting the waste from the curbside, or if that is not possible, by placing the containers where people should bring their materials where it is convenient for them. And then once people know how they can participate, and once we've made it really easy for them, of course we also need to tell them why they should participate. We need to motivate people. And we have different possibilities for that. So first of all, of course, we can and need to address and build societal norms. So it should be a societal norm for everyone to separate their waste, to participate in a recycling system. Financial rewards and maybe punishments can also go a long way to motivate people, so make it the cheapest option to participate in the system. And then also the trust that the system functions is a key element. If I, for example, believe that the waste that I'm separating then gets collected and mixed up again anyways, then my motivation to separate, of course, is much, much lower. And then, as a last step, we need to help people to turn their good intention of separating and bringing the waste to where it can be used again into action. And this is again where the design of the physical system of waste collection, of waste separation plays a key role. Because then we need to make it as convenient, as easy, and as attractive as possible for people to actually take the step of participating. So when we want to transition to a circular economy, the children are particularly important. Children are the citizens of the future. Their habits are not yet as defined as the habits of adults, so they can more easily adapt to new ways of living. Also, they can be very good messengers to bring the message into the families. parents usually want to set a good example to their children. So they want to show that they conform with societal norms. And so a child asking the mother, why don't we separate, can be a very strong motivation for the mother to actually start separating in the household. Now, that does not work in all societies. In some societies, for example, the elders have a lot of influence, or religious leaders have a lot of influence. So we always need to not just adapt the message to the context, but also the messenger.
Yeah, regarding the education and promotion measures for separate waste collection, I think this should be done by many stakeholders. So, of course, the government is informing the households about waste collection and changes in waste collection, but also the PRO should have some money there in place to inform about the separate waste collection, how it's done, so that every household has the chance to do it in the right way. But I see also a good role here for the non-governmental organizations like WWF to inform about the relationships between separate waste collection and improvement of the environmental situation. So I think every stakeholder has their role and a role in this. And from our perspective as WWF, we try to support the communication and the awareness raising as much as possible.
I would say my biggest lesson learned in waste education is, on the one hand, how challenging and time-consuming it can be to change the broad societal norm towards waste separation and recycling. And on the other hand, the lesson that even in contexts where I would have least expected it, so in context of poverty, where people really have a lot on their plate, existential problems, how many people are already motivated to protect the environment and to play their role, to do their part. And so I think in every context there are front runners who can really be multipliers in their respective communities.